China just issued a warning that has sent shockwaves through the global scientific community. We are not ready. Those were the exact words used in a leaked memo from the China National Space Administration. Not ready for what? For the object that just appeared between 3I Atlas and Earth. An object that wasn't there yesterday. An object that has no orbital history. An object that simply materialized in one of the most watched regions of space in human history. This is not a drill. This is not speculation. This is happening right now, and what I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about what's visiting our solar system. Today is November 10th, 2025, and humanity just received the most terrifying confirmation that we are not alone. And according to Chinese officials, we are absolutely, catastrophically unprepared for what comes next. Let me be very clear about what we're dealing with here. For weeks, astronomers worldwide have been tracking 3I Atlas, the interstellar visitor that has defied every natural explanation. We've been watching it, studying it, trying to understand what it is and where it came from. We thought we had time. We thought we were simply observing a mysterious cosmic object passing through. We were wrong. Because 3I Atlas wasn't alone. It was never alone. And now, something else has arrived. The new object was first detected on November 8th by the Tianwen probe orbiting Mars. Chinese astronomers noticed an anomaly in a region of space between 3I Atlas and Earth. A region that had been photographed and mapped hundreds of times over the past month. Every previous image showed nothing but empty space and distant stars. But on November 8th, something was there. Something that reflected light. Something with mass. Something that had not existed in that location 24 hours earlier. Initial reports from Chinese space agencies were cautious, suggesting it might be a previously undetected asteroid or a fragment that had broken off from 3I Atlas. But as more data came in, as more observations were made, that explanation became impossible to maintain. This object, now designated C-2025, Phi-1 Borisov in official catalogues, but being called something very different in classified briefings, appeared instantaneously. It has no trajectory that traces back to any known source. It simply appeared, as if it had been deployed or activated, or had somehow materialized from nothing. The object is small, roughly 30 meters across based on preliminary measurements. It's moving in an orbit that keeps it positioned almost exactly between 3I Atlas and Earth, maintaining what astronomers are calling an impossibly precise geometric relationship. As 3I Atlas moves, this new object moves with it, adjusting its position to maintain the same relative distance and angle. This is not how natural objects behave. This is not orbital mechanics as we understand them. This is controlled movement. This is deliberate positioning. And here's where China's warning becomes absolutely chilling. The object is emitting, not reflecting sunlight, not just existing passively in space, but actively emitting electromagnetic radiation across multiple frequencies. Some of these emissions match the exact signal patterns that 3I Atlas has been broadcasting. Others are new, different, more complex. Chinese scientists who have analyzed the signals describe them as handshake protocols, the kind of communication exchange that happens when two computers establish a connection. 3I Atlas is talking to this new object, and the new object is responding. The leaked memo from the China National Space Administration was written by Dr. Li Xiaoming, one of China's leading astrophysicists and a key figure in their deep space observation program. In the memo, addressed to senior government officials and military leadership, Dr. Li states in unequivocal terms that humanity is facing a first contact scenario for which we have no preparation no protocols, and no realistic defense capabilities. His assessment is that the appearance of this second object represents a deliberate action by whatever intelligence controls 3I Atlas, and that we should assume we are being evaluated, studied, or possibly prepared for something we cannot yet understand. The memo goes on to detail several deeply concerning observations. First, the new object appeared in a location that would have required it to decelerate from interstellar speeds to nearly zero velocity in an impossibly short time. The energy requirements for such a maneuver are beyond anything our physics can explain using conventional propulsion. We're talking about technologies that can manipulate inertia, momentum, or space-time itself. Second, the object is maintaining its position using what appears to be active propulsion or field generation. Telescopes have detected faint emissions consistent with some kind of drive system activating periodically to adjust the object's trajectory. This is not a passive rock. This is a craft, a probe, a machine. Third, and most alarming, the electromagnetic emissions from this object are increasing in intensity and complexity. What started as simple pulse patterns, similar to 3I Atlas's signals, has evolved over just 48 hours into something far more sophisticated. Chinese cryptographers, working on the signal analysis report that the patterns now include what appear to be three-dimensional geometric structures encoded in the frequency modulations, as well as sequences that match known physical constants, like the speed of light and gravitational constant. It's as if the object is teaching us a language, providing a dictionary of universal concepts we can use as a foundation for communication. But Dr. Li's memo raises a question that has everyone terrified. Why now? Why reveal a second object at this moment? 3I Atlas had been moving through our solar system for months, maintaining its cover as a possibly natural, if highly unusual, interstellar visitor. It could have continued that charade indefinitely. Instead, it deployed or activated or somehow manifested this second object in a way that makes its artificial nature undeniable. This was a choice. This was intentional. And Dr. Li's assessment is that this timing suggests we've reached some threshold, crossed some line, entered some phase of whatever plan or protocol is being followed. The Chinese government's response has been swift and dramatic. Within hours of the object's discovery being confirmed, China activated emergency protocols typically reserved for national security crises. Military units were placed on heightened alert. Key infrastructure was secured. And most tellingly, China reached out through back channels to the United States, Russia, and the European Union with a simple message. We need to talk. Now. The urgency in those communications, according to diplomatic sources, was unprecedented. This wasn't a scientific curiosity being shared among colleagues. This was a warning of existential threat being delivered between potential allies, facing something none of them understand. Meanwhile, the international astronomical community is in absolute chaos. NASA, which had remained largely silent about 3I Atlas despite having extensive observational data, suddenly called an emergency press conference scheduled for tomorrow morning. The timing is not coincidental. They know China is about to go public with their findings, and they're scrambling to coordinate their message. The European Space Agency has activated their crisis communication protocols. Russia's space program has redirected every available telescope and sensor toward the region between 3I Atlas and Earth. India, Japan, and private space companies with observational capabilities are all focusing resources on understanding what this new object is and what it wants. But here's what's terrifying scientists more than anything else. The object isn't just sitting there. It's moving closer. Not quickly, not in an obviously threatening way, but steadily, Deliberately, it's reducing the distance between itself and Earth. Current projections suggest that if it maintains its current acceleration pattern, it will reach lunar orbit, the distance of the Moon from Earth, in approximately 15 days. What happens then? Nobody knows. But Dr. Li's memo suggests that Chinese leadership is operating under the assumption that this represents some kind of deadline or arrival time, and that we should be preparing for contact, communication, or confrontation. Let me break down exactly what we're seeing, because the details are crucial to understanding just how unprecedented this situation is. The object, this new arrival, is roughly cylindrical in shape, based on the light curves captured during its rotation. It's spinning slowly, completing one rotation approximately every 3 hours. This rotation appears deliberate, as if it's scanning or observing in all directions, rather than tumbling chaotically like a natural object would. The surface appears highly reflective, almost mirror-like, suggesting advanced materials, or possibly some kind of active surface coating. Spectroscopic analysis of the light reflecting off the object shows no matches to known asteroids, comets, or any natural celestial body in our solar system. The spectral signature is flat across most wavelengths, indicating either an artificial surface or materials we've never encountered before. There are also absorption lines in unusual places, suggesting the presence of elements or compounds that don't match anything in our reference databases. Some scientists are speculating about exotic matter, materials that can only exist under specific conditions or that require advanced manufacturing processes. The electromagnetic emissions from the object are centered around the 1.42 GHz frequency, the hydrogen line, just like 3I Atlas. But they also include components at other mathematically significant frequencies, 1.618 GHz, corresponding to the golden ratio, 3.14159 GHz, matching pi. These are not natural frequencies. These are mathematical constants being deliberately broadcast, as if to say, we understand mathematics, we understand physics, we are intelligent, we want to communicate. But here's where it gets even stranger. The signal pattern from this new object changes when Earth rotates into certain positions. When North America is facing the object, the signal intensifies and includes additional modulation patterns. When Asia faces it, the pattern changes again. It's as if the object is customizing its message based on which human population centers are in view, as if it knows about our civilization, our geography, our distribution across the planet. That level of specificity, that level of knowledge about Earth, is deeply unsettling. Chinese scientists have attempted to decode the modulated information in these signals. According to leaked reports, they've had partial success. The signals appear to contain visual information, possibly images or diagrams encoded in a format that's surprisingly similar to how we encode digital images. One team claims to have extracted what looks like a star map, showing multiple solar systems connected by lines, possibly indicating a network or route between stars. Another team reports finding repeating patterns that could be a numerical sequence or countdown. The implications are staggering and terrifying in equal measure. Dr. Li's memo includes a section on threat assessment that makes for chilling reading. He outlines several possible scenarios for why this object appeared and what its presence might mean. The optimistic scenario is that this is a communication relay deployed by 3I Atlas to establish better contact with Earth, to facilitate information exchange and peaceful first contact. In this view, the object is essentially a translator or bridge, designed to help two vastly different intelligences understand each other. The signals, the movement toward Earth, the mathematical language, all of this could be an attempt to say, "We come in peace, let us talk." But Dr. Lee also outlines darker possibilities. The object could be a surveillance probe, positioned to gather detailed information about Earth before some larger action is taken. It could be monitoring our military capabilities, our technological level, our weaknesses and vulnerabilities. The fact that it responds to different human population centers differently suggests it's analyzing us, studying our civilization in detail. Or, most terrifying of all, the object could be a weapon or a threat, positioned between 3I Atlas and Earth as a demonstration of capability. A way of saying, we can deploy assets anywhere in your solar system at will. We can appear where and when we choose, and you cannot stop us. The memo notes that Chinese military leadership is taking the third possibility very seriously. Defense systems are being evaluated for their potential effectiveness against an object with such advanced capabilities. The answer, unfortunately, is that we have essentially no options. If this object is hostile, if it represents a threat, we have no way to defend against it. We couldn't intercept it. Our fastest spacecraft would take months to reach it. Our weapons, even nuclear weapons, would be ineffective against something that can apparently manipulate physics in ways we don't understand. We are, as Dr. Lee states bluntly, completely at the mercy of whatever intelligence controls these objects. Adding to the crisis, there are reports of unusual activity at major space agencies around the world. The James Webb Space Telescope has been redirected to focus exclusively on the region between 3I Atlas and Earth. The Hubble Space Telescope is conducting continuous observations. Ground-based observatories are coordinating their efforts, creating a global network of eyes watching this object around the clock. And there are whispers of classified military satellites, reconnaissance platforms, that normally track missiles and monitor Earth, being reoriented to observe this cosmic visitor. But here's what's keeping government officials awake at night. We're not just dealing with one mystery object anymore. We're dealing with a system, a coordinated operation. 3I Atlas, the original interstellar visitor, has been broadcasting signals for weeks. Now this second object appears and begins communicating with 3I Atlas, while also broadcasting toward Earth. The two are clearly connected, clearly part of the same mission or purpose. And if there are two objects, why not 3? Or 10? Or 100? Some analysts are suggesting that we might be seeing only a small part of a much larger presence in our solar system. Could there be other objects we haven't detected yet? Smaller probes, dormant satellites, observers hidden in the asteroid belt or the outer solar system. The thought that 3I Atlas might just be the tip of the iceberg, the first visible component of a vast interstellar operation, is almost too overwhelming to process. Dr. Lee's memo touches on this possibility, noting that Chinese deep space tracking systems are now searching for additional anomalies, additional objects that might reveal themselves, or that might have been hiding in plain sight all along. The public reaction, when this information becomes widely known, is impossible to predict, but likely to be intense. Some people will be excited, thrilled by confirmation of extraterrestrial intelligence and the possibility of cosmic contact. Others will be terrified, worried about invasion, colonization, or threats we can't comprehend. Religious communities will face profound questions about the place of humanity in a universe where other intelligent beings exist. Governments will face political crises as people demand answers, protection, or action. This is why China's warning that we are not ready is so significant. They're not just talking about technology or military capability. They're talking about psychological readiness, social cohesion, our ability to function as a civilization when faced with something that challenges our fundamental assumptions about our place in the universe. And their assessment, based on internal studies and consultations with psychologists, sociologists, and crisis management experts, is that we are not ready. Not even close. The object continues its approach toward Earth. Every hour it gets closer. Every hour its signals become stronger, more detailed, more complex. Chinese scientists are working frantically to decode everything they can, to extract every piece of information from these transmissions before whatever is going to happen, happens. Other nations are doing the same, sharing some data through official channels while keeping other discoveries classified. The level of international cooperation is unprecedented, driven by the recognition that this is not a Chinese problem or an American problem, but a human problem. There are debates raging in classified briefings about whether and how to respond. Should we broadcast a signal back to the object? Should we attempt to communicate? Or would that be revealing too much about ourselves? Should we prepare some kind of physical response, sending a spacecraft to intercept the object? Or would that be interpreted as hostile? The problem is that every option carries unknown risks. We're navigating blind, making decisions that could affect the entire future of our species, with no guidebook, no precedent, no way to know if we're making the right choices. Dr. Lee's memo concludes with a recommendation that China believes should be adopted globally. We need to activate first contact protocols immediately. We need to assemble teams of scientists, linguists, mathematicians, diplomats, and philosophers to attempt meaningful communication with these objects. We need to prepare the public, carefully and gradually, for the reality of extraterrestrial intelligence. And we need to accept that we are no longer the only players in this solar system, that we need to adapt our thinking, our planning, our entire worldview to accommodate the presence of something we don't understand. But his final paragraph is what has everyone truly frightened. He writes, "We must consider the possibility that the appearance of this second object is a test. That 3i Atlas has been observing us, evaluating us, and has now deployed this object to see how we respond, how we react to this development, whether with fear or curiosity, with aggression or openness, with unity or division, may determine what happens next. We are being judged, and I am not confident we will pass. As of this moment, November 10th, 2025, we are living through the most significant event in human history. An event that started with the detection of a mysterious interstellar object and has evolved into undeniable proof that we are not alone, that intelligence exists beyond Earth, and that this intelligence is here, now, in our solar system, moving closer to our planet with unknown intentions. China has warned us. We are not ready. The question is, can we become ready in time? Can we rise to meet this moment? Or will we fracture, panic, and fail the test that may be determining the future of our entire species? Let me tell you what's happening right now, at this very moment, as governments scramble to respond to this crisis. Emergency meetings are being held in capitals around the world. The United Nations Security Council has convened a special closed-door session. NATO headquarters is lit up like Christmas, with military analysts working through the night, trying to assess threat levels and response options. In Washington, the president has been briefed multiple times in the last 24 hours. In Beijing, the Politburo Standing Committee is in continuous session. In Moscow, Brussels, Delhi, Tokyo, Canberra, leaders are facing the same impossible question. What do we do? The astronomical community is divided, fractured by the magnitude of what's happening. Some scientists are advocating for aggressive attempts at communication, arguing that we need to establish dialogue immediately, that we need to demonstrate intelligence, curiosity, peaceful intent. They want to broadcast mathematical proofs, send images of Earth and humanity, transmit music and art, anything that might bridge the gap between our civilizations. Others are counseling extreme caution, even silence, arguing that we know nothing about the intentions of these visitors and that drawing attention to ourselves could be catastrophic. Meanwhile, telescope, time has become the most valuable commodity in science. Every major observatory on Earth is receiving requests from research teams wanting to observe the new object, analyze its composition, track its movements, capture every possible piece of data. Radio telescopes are listening across every frequency band, hoping to intercept more signals, to decode more information. The Very Large Array in New Mexico is operating at full capacity. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile has been completely repurposed to focus on this crisis. Even amateur astronomers with backyard telescopes are contributing observations, becoming part of the largest coordinated astronomical effort in human history. The object itself continues to perplex and terrify in equal measure. Additional observations have revealed more details that only deepen the mystery. High-resolution imaging shows that the surface is not uniform. There are patterns, structures, possibly panels or segments, that suggest modular construction. Some sections appear darker than others, possibly indicating different materials or different functional areas. One research team claims to have detected thermal variations across the surface, suggesting internal power generation or active systems maintaining different temperatures in different sections. Most disturbing are the observations suggesting the object is not solid all the way through. Radar returns indicate internal structure, chambers or voids inside the cylindrical form. This is exactly what you would expect from a spacecraft or probe, not from a natural object. The implications are clear. This thing was built. It was designed. It serves a purpose. And that purpose brought it here, to our solar system, positioning itself between an interstellar visitor and our planet. There have been attempts to calculate the object's origin trajectory, to determine where it came from. The problem is that its appearance was so sudden, so instantaneous, that there's no long baseline of positional data to work with. It's as if the object simply popped into existence. Some scientists are suggesting it might have been traveling dark, without any emissions or reflections, until it activated at this location. Others are proposing more exotic explanations. Could it have used some form of faster-than-light travel? Could it have been hidden behind some kind of cloaking technology? The 15-day timeline until the object reaches lunar orbit has become a countdown that everyone is acutely aware of. What happens on day 15? Does the object stop at lunar distance? Does it continue toward Earth? Does it deploy something else, reveal some new capability? The uncertainty is maddening. Military planners are developing contingency scenarios for everything from peaceful contact to aggressive defense. Dr. Lee's memo has been leaked online now, spreading across social media faster than any government can suppress it. The public is reading his warnings, his recommendations, and the reaction is exactly what he predicted. Some people are excited, ready to embrace cosmic contact. Others are buying emergency supplies, preparing for collapse. Stock markets are showing volatility. Therapists report increased anxiety. People are looking up at the night sky differently now, knowing that something is up there, something intelligent, something watching us. The object continues its approach, every hour bringing it closer, every day revealing new details, new mysteries. The signals continue to broadcast, growing more complex. Chinese teams claim to have reconstructed several images embedded in the transmissions. One appears to show 3I Atlas itself. Another shows what might be a map of the galaxy. A third is more abstract, possibly representing concepts we're not yet able to interpret. The object is coming. 15 days. The universe has found us, and according to China, we should be very, very worried.